Hello, how are we today? Great to have you guys once again on today's Azure networking series. We're glad to have everyone today. How are we doing? And today's topic is going to be design and implement hybrid networking. Last week we had a topic on non-HTTP traffic. We talked about Azure Load Balancer and Traffic Manager for non-HTTP traffic. So today we're taking networking series to another level. We're going to be designing and implementing hybrid networking. So I want you guys to expect we're going to like connect our designs point to point and site to site networking in on Azure. So fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a whole lot of learning today. Today we're going to talk about Azure Virtual Network Gateway, Azure Network Site-to-Site VPN. We'll talk about Site-to-Site VPN. We'll have a practical on Site-to-Site VPN as well as Point-to-Site VPN and Azure Virtual WAN. We're going to talk about that as well as Azure Virtual Appliances. So we're glad to have you once again. Hope we got your feedback that you really enjoyed the last week topic, and today we're ensuring you that you're going to get something great, just like last week. Can you guys hear me? Hello. From my end, I could see that I'm having like a network issue. I don't know if it's the same thing. 1 minute, let me try. Okay. Okay, guys. I discovered that I had like a network issue. I don't know if you guys have been hearing me. So let's start once again. Hi guys, we are happy to see you on today's Azure Network series. Today we are continuing our series and the topic, networking series, and the topic for today is design and implement hybrid networking. So on this topic, we are expecting you to like what we're going to be going through on this topic is point to site VPN and site to site VPN. We're going to talk about Azure One and Azure VPN Gateway. We'll do practicals on all this for today. So we have our speaker for today is no other person that our own very MVP Imog. So Imog is a seasoned solution architect and DevOps engineer with 11 good years experience. So he has 11 years experience in IT and in cloud and on premises. So finger crossed, Imog is giving us a whole lot. Hi Imog, how are you? Are you here?
Yes, good. Can you hear me?
Sure, we can hear you. Good to
Okay.
have you. Welcome to
Good
today's
evening.
studies.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. Thank you very much for the introduction. Hi, audience. I hope you can hear me clearly. So we've been having the series of on networking for a while now, and catering is the one occurring and organizing all that. So I believe last time, I think yesterday we spoke. There was a section on around still on networking, and that section was great. So today we are going to also be speaking on the continuing that section, and we be focusing on design and implementing hybrid networking on Azure. So I will go ahead and share my screen so we can all see what I have in stock for us. I would like you to be concentrate and be focused, and also contribute to the section that I'm going to be presenting. If you have any question, always reach out to the moderator on the chat. Catherine is behind the scenes, so whenever there's a question, she'll be able to bring that forward to me. And I am one of the speakers who accept questions, accept interruption. If you have questions, just raise your hand, and then I will attend to your question. So now I'm going to let me try and share my screen. What's this? Come on. So just a bit. Just hold on here. Okay. So right away, let me know if you can see my screen clearly. So let me minimize this so I'll be able to. Okay, so thank you very much for your time and for joining today. Today's session promises to be a great one, and I look forward to having a very fantastic session with you. So what we have on the screen is designing and implementing hybrid networking, and we can call it design and implement hybrid networking, whichever way works for you. So before I go on, Catherine has already introduced me, and my name is Imo Etuk. I'm a Microsoft MVP, focusing on the infrastructure aspect of the cloud and also Azure storage. And right now, I'm driving a bit about the AI, Azure AI services, and I've had some couple of stuff around that domain. So today we are going to be hitting the infrastructure aspect, and this has to do with the connectivity aspect of the Azure and your on-premises. So moving further, I have some agenda for us, and I'm going to properly introduce you to what hybrid networking is, the concept that you need to know in order to be able to get started. Then we're going to speak about Azure VPN Gateway. Then we delve into virtual network gateway configuration. How is it configured? Then we speak about site-to-site, point-to-site, and VNet to VNet connections, and then Azure Virtual WAN and VSC, NVS, that is Azure Network Virtual Appliances in Azure. Then we will do a bit of a walkthrough of the lab, and then we take question and we discuss. So right now, let me just speak through this hybrid architecture. When you hear the word hybrid, it means two things. Mean you have one side of your architecture in the cloud and one side on your company premises. That premises means your office, your data center for the techie guys, or in other words, we call it on premises. But for the sake of those joining us for the first time who have not been knowledgeable or who have not been exposed to these technical jargons, so it is better for us to say the connection between your office and Microsoft Azure Cloud. So before you can set up this connection, there are a lot of things you need to put in place. And then some of those things you need to put in place are some of the things we are going to look at today. So before we even talk of networking, let's consider what hybrid connectivity means. So hybrid connectivity in this case refers to you combining your office computer or your office network equipment like switches, router, firewall devices, and then you combine this together. These tools are owned by you and are domiciled in your office or your data center or your on premises, as the case may be. So now, and that form part of your private cloud. We have three types of connecting to the cloud. We have the hybrid, private, and public. So now you have set up your data center, and that is your private cloud automatically. Now we have Microsoft Azure, on the other hand, which is the public cloud. So public cloud services, as the name implies, is public. It is not owned by you. It is owned by a service provider like Microsoft, and you are going to pay through Microsoft subscription or whichever method. Now, for you to have, for you to extend what you have on your on premises, that is on your private cloud data center in this case, to Microsoft Azure, you need connectivity. And you need to connect to extend those solutions, to extend your data that are being hosted in the cloud. And this, one of the advantages is that these benefits enable you to leverage two things. You take advantage of the private connection and the public connection. When for developers in the house, when you build your apps, we have the client facing and we have the backend. Your backend is very important, and they hold a lot of stuff, logic, business logic, databases that should not be exposed publicly. So that is the benefit of using your hybrid, combining the two. So what you feel that should stay behind the scene at the backend should, a recommendation is that put it in your private network or in your on-premises. So on the other way around, the client facing, of course, you can imagine that you may experience downtime on your premises, and the clients are very important, and you're serving them through your client facing interface or the applications. So in that case, it is most appropriate to place those client facing resources in the cloud, which is the public facing or public cloud in this case. So you are leveraging two things, benefiting from the secure hybrid connectivity and talk to your cloud using the VPN gateway, which introduce private encrypted connectivity, a secure and encrypted connectivity to your resources in the cloud. And this really gives you the best experience and confidence around your whatever you're building, so that you don't face any downtime. Now, services like in Azure, if you look at the diagram I have on the screen, there are about three ways of connecting to Azure. As far as to the best of my knowledge, when it comes to networking, we have either use the VPN. You can call it VPN or Azure VPN Gateway if you want to. It's simply a VPN connectivity anyway. So Azure Express Route. We are not going to focus on Express Route. I think there's a separate section for that. So, but I just want to give us an illustration and some examples, some differences between them. So now for Virtual Gateway, that's the VPN which we are going to speak today. This has to do with you connecting from your on-premises or from Azure to on-premises, and using major three method of connectivity. That has to do with either you go by the route of site-to-site, or you use the point-to-site, or you use your VNet to VNet. No, VNet to VNet stays in Azure. You don't need to, that one, I can technically call that process a managed connectivity because it sits in Azure. You can use your VPN peering, VNet peering to achieve that. And that has to do with when you connect one VNet to another. So that's VNet to VNet connection. Now let's focus more on the site-to-site and point-to-site. So, but before I go that, let me also show you other ways of you connecting to Azure that are not networking. So if you had to follow now for Express Route, let me speak a bit about Express Route. So Express Route is simply giving you dedicated private connection. When you want something dedicated private connection, you can go to Express Route. And Express Route now, if you look at the likes of Microsoft 365, they run on Express Route connectivity. So they run directly from your premises to Microsoft backbone network directly. So we also have the Virtual WAN. Virtual WAN is when you combine, is a very powerful one. It combines both the functionality of VPN gateway and express route and give you a central interface for you to manage all your connectivity. So going to other method of connecting to Azure. So we have Azure Arc. Now, Azure Arc is a service on Azure classified under the infrastructure that allows you to manage resources across on-premises, multi-cloud, and the edge environment from a single control pane. So you don't need to leave any interface. So this brings in a kind of unified governance across your distributed environment. So we also have other ways of reaching to Azure. We have Azure Stack Hub. Azure Stack Hub is a hardware solution that enables you to organization to run Azure services on their on-premises. So if you recently, during the last year Ignite, Azure Local was announced, a rebranded version of Azure Stack ACI. So this also offers you modern virtualization for you to run Windows and Linux VM on Azure with the on-premises as well at the edge. So now Microsoft also have a unified operation connectivity method where there's a framework for you to put together and then be able to establish a standard operational model that governs your connectivity to Azure between Azure and your on-premises. So that being said, let's move to what we really need to deal with today, which is the VPN gateway. So one of the things that happened to VPN gateway, as I was explaining before, VPN gateway provides secure and encrypted connectivity between different networks. In Azure, you have the VNet, you have the on-premises, and you have the remote client. Let's not forget over the public internet. So three things are involved: your on-premise, the Azure VNet, your on-premises, and your remote offices or your remote users. Assuming, let's take for instance, you have an office in Lagos, and you have your employees, some of your employees working remotely. Already your data center is in Lagos, your head office is in Lagos, and that's where you have your on-premises set up. So now, how you have staff in the employees in Abuja, Port Harcourt, and other cities. So now, and for you not to replicate or set up another data center, which can be costly for you, so you can opt in for the remote access. That is the point-to-site functionality of this VPN gateway. So that is what you can do. So when is it suitable to use? It's lower cost. It's very cost effective, and it's very suitable for medium-sized organization, not for large organization like that. So if you're a medium-sized firm or company setting up for small businesses, so VPN gateway is more suitable for you to adopt. We also have it's also ideal, as I spoke about it before. So it's also ideal for remote access connectivity for your employees who works remotely, and also that wants to access the resources at your head office. Is also very suitable for that. So we also have that is suitable for. It's very easy to set up. It doesn't take time. Once you create the required resources, which we are going to see in the course of this section. So we are going to see how to set up these resources that you need. So you support multiple VPN connection. You have point-to-site, site-to-site, and then the VNet to VNet. So it is very ideal for hosting hybrid applications. Like I explained earlier, if you have an application running on your premises and you want to extend it to Azure, so Azure VPN Gateway is very, very suitable for that. Now, another one is also that while setting up this, you need to, we are going to speak to some of the things that it requires. You need to consider having a dedicated subnet. Without having a dedicated subnet with a specific name, and that name is usually gateway subnet. That's the way, the only name that Azure recognizes. If you give another name, it won't work. So now I'm going to the configuration aspect of VPN gateway. How does it work? So you look at from the diagram, we have our on-premises environment set up, and we have some servers connected together. So now you first of all will need to create a virtual network. That's the first step on the Microsoft Azure side of it. If you don't have it, and mind you, before you can do every other thing, you need to have a subscription. If you do not have a subscription for the sake of practicing and learning and how to do this, you can sign up for the 30 days free trial on Azure. Catherine will have to get the link and drop in the chat so you can sign up for 30 days free trial on Azure to get the $200 credit to enable you to practice. So you create that. You have the VNet set up on Azure. So now you need to also deploy your gateway type. If it's a VPN, of course, here we're speaking to a VPN, so you select your VPN, select the gateway type as VPN. And if you want to something more secure, you can go for express route, but it's more expensive than VPN alone. So VNet location and public IP address matters, because your your VPN connectivity must run over a public network. Now you need to create the local network gateway, where in this diagram, this is the local network gateway. So local network gateway is simply a device. Microsoft has a list of dedicated website and recommended this thing. Let me check if I can get that link to us. Microsoft has that link, and there's a list of dedicated local gateway devices that they recommend. I know of one. We have Cisco, we have Sophos, we have a lot of them. I will look for the link and then share with us. So if you need to check out which of them are supported, so you need to set that up. So once you set up your local network gateway, you need to configure the fully qualified domain name. Usually, best practice is to point to your public IP address on premises. So you point it there. Now, after pointing it there, you need to create a connection. That is the gateway connection, which is this. Of course, in this case, as you can see, we have on premises, and it's pointing directly. So this is site to site. You connected entire data center from on premises to either site. Now, if you go to, let me check. I think there's a question. So now we have we have that. Having said that, there is also a point to site from the diagram we are looking at right now. We have users who seems to be working remotely, and then we need to configure the VPN tunnel to point to the VPN gateway right here. So now this user 1234, that working and connecting to both on premises and Azure, and despite that they are remotely located. So that's the beauty of it. They don't need to be at the central location before they can access your resources across on premises and Azure. So on the Azure part, we have the resource running, we have the subnet, we have the VNet, and we also have the subnet, like I mentioned before, must probably be defined, must be a dedicated one. You can't place it with another resource. You can't share that subnet at all. So, and there must be a name. The name is unique, must be labeled as gateway subnet as the name. So that is it. So when you define all this, all what you just need to do is to set up your connection, then create a pre-shared key, and we are going to still speak about that as we move on. So now, in the course of setting up your VPN connectivity for your on-premises, both the on-premises IP address of the VPN device, like I mentioned before, Microsoft has a dedicated link for that, a list of VPN devices that are supported. So you need to, I will look for that and share. Now you need to have the public IP address or the fully qualified domain name of your server on premises. You might not want to expose that. So public IP address is okay. So now you configure that by adding address namespaces and pointing it to your on-premises VPN devices. That on Azure is known as the local network gateway. So now moving on, we're going to speak about site-to-site connection. Some of the best practice you need to follow, because for everything you do, there must be some of the best practices that works for you, that's recommended, and you must follow it. Without that, you might end up not having the best connectivity that you want. So now we also have you need to make sure that there's a dedicated subnet properly named. You need to use a strong pre-shared key or an enforced IPsec and IK Internet Key Exchange security policies. They must be strong. And also make sure that keep your software and firmware of the device, of your VPN devices on premises updated. The vendors usually release some of their update cycles, so you need to study that and understand how it works. So another one is also you need to configure redundant connections and you set up active mode for high availability scenarios. You need to take into consideration downtime that can happen unpredictable. So you need to do that. So you need to monitor your connections and set up alerts for connection health. Now you need to. This is very important for if you want to really achieve the good practice and good best practice for this. So you need to set up that. So also document settings, routings, and maintain clear naming convention for ease of manageability. So most time it's always difficult to have a proper naming convention. So your organization must have established one. If there's none, you need to establish that to be able to have a proper naming convention for your routing and then maintain clear naming convention for that. So having said that, I'm not sure if there's any question in the chat. Let me check. So okay. So now I need to explain this diagram that is here in a way that we all will understand. So right now, like I mentioned before, when we talk of site to site, it's simply from your premises down to Azure. So that is a whole data center is connected to Azure. In this one, we have a site called Site 1, and that site has IP addresses. Now, the public IP address is what is talking to your local network device. In this case, this local network device is simply a VPN device. Some VPN device come with firewall device embedded together. So when you get one, it serves the purpose of firewall and also local network device for you to connect. Now, the policies are built in, and you need to take note. You need to consider. You need to configure it. It built into the tunnel, but you need to do some stringent configuration to make sure that the security is tight. So after that, it points to the VPN gateway on Azure that also has a public IP address attached to it, and then LAN in the subnet that runs within the VNet in the East US. So going further, we need to speak about site to site. So site to site is similar to point to site, but different in a sense that site to site talks directly to your on-premises network, while a point to site speak from established connection directly from your Azure down to the user devices. So users at this point are running on your endpoint, your laptop. There are different laptops that you assign to them. You can see user one has a VPN client that's deployed to it. How do you have the VPN client? So VPN client just when the mean has set up all the configuration. They need to just send you the VPN. Some of them you send it to you or remotely installed on your laptop, and when you on your system, you need to connect to your head office or to Azure directly. So be able to talk to Azure. So that is how this will work. So some of the things is that that is a point to site and allow individual client computers to connect securely to from anywhere. You can be anywhere. You don't need to be like you don't need to move to a head office before you can connect using point to site. Now, though all of them are running on public IP, so you need to take note. So some of the use case for this is that it's very ideal for remote workers if you are working remotely, and also very ideal for telecommuters if you are moving around the places. You can also use it. It also varies maybe scenarios with few clients that need secure access to Azure. If you have some of your client who needs to connect to Azure, maybe in the meantime to test run some of the things that are running, maybe doing POC stuff, you can set up for clients. It's also very, very useful at that stage. So connection initiation. So VPN connection is initiated by client device itself. So it is you who will initiate the connection in this case. So you can choose to disconnect it when you don't need it again. But whenever you connect, so it connects you directly to Azure. Now, yes, some protocols are supported within this within the point to site connectivity. We have the open VPN connectivity, SSL, and transport layer security based. It also support secure socket tunneling for you protocol SSTP. Then also support the IKE version 2, that is Internet Key Exchange version 2. So some of these are the protocols that helps to encrypt this network and point it to direct to the right place that it's supposed to go to. So moving forward, as I mentioned before, we also have VNet to VNet connection. So VNet to VNet connection is simply, let's assume I have VNet 1, VNet 2 on Azure, and I need them to talk to each other. And I need them to talk to each other. There are ways you can connect. You can use VPN Gateway, but the diagram I have on the screen speaks to VNet peering. VNet peering is really a secure way, but then you can also implement VPN connection within Azure to manage the connectivity. So, but then VNet peering is also one of the ways. So what you can do is you just have VNet 1, 2, and then within VNet 1, if you want VNet 1 to be paired to VNet 2, you just go to VNet 1 and point the connection to VNet 2. A lot of you we have held sections on VNet pairing, so we're not going to do much on this. I remember I've taken several sections on this in the past. So if you are familiar with our YouTube channel, if you search for VNet pairing within our channel, you'll be able to see a section on it. So now we need to speak to Azure Virtual WAN. So Azure Virtual WAN is majorly for global routing. When you want to achieve global routing and connectivity that support a hub and spoke architecture for multiple sites. Let's assume you have an office in Lagos, you have an office in Abuja, you have an office in Port Harcourt, you have your office in maybe 4 cities within Nigeria, or even outside Nigeria, and you want all these 4 cities to talk to one another. So the most suitable method or service to implement is Azure Virtual WAN. So it helps to simplify and centralize large-scale branch to Azure and branch to branch connectivity. So when from one branch to another, that is data center in one branch. This is not that you are speaking from one branch to endpoint to user computer. No. So that's how that one works. Now, it also helps us to by managing global distributed networks with multiple site users and complex routing requirements. It's like the name, like I just read now, is more complex to set up. It is more complex to set up, but it's very useful when you set it up. So it's very useful when you set it up and when you're able to set it up, and then proper planning and proper architecture has to be put in place before you start implementing. You need to properly document the process, look at the business requirement, and everything to ensure that everything is very okay before you can set it up. Now, I just have I think there's a link for this thing. There's a link for you to see Azure VPN Gateway devices that are being authorized by Microsoft. So let me check. I think I just dropped the link now in the chat. So if you check that, you see it. So with that link, you'll be able to see the list of supported devices for Azure, for VPN devices that you see. So now, here, it's very, very suitable when you have multi-site and complex to set up, though very reliable depending on the business scenario or use cases that you need. So another functionality is that it integrates VPN, express route, and network virtual appliances. So what are these network virtual appliances? Though we are going to speak more about it, but it is also good that you also get to know. So virtual network appliances are collections of all those like a load balancer, a lot of those devices that enables network connectivity to happen or that help in one way or the other to support connection, network connectivity. So now in this case, Azure Virtual WAN bring them together. You centralized all the connectivity, VPN express route, and network virtual appliances under a unified and automated routing and security framework. So moving further, we have it also help organizations looking for. It's also more suitable for organizations looking for easy deployment, scalability, and centralized management of hybrid network infrastructure. So this is more suitable for large organizations, for companies that are big, that need more to be done. So moving further, we move to the network virtual appliances. So network virtual appliances are virtualized network devices. Like I mentioned before, we have the likes of firewall, we have the likes of routers, we have load balancers, we have WAN optimizers, as well as a lot of them that are deployed in Azure VNet to extend and customize your network. So here, uh, let's assume you want your premises network to take advantage of high availability in terms of balanced traffic distribution on Azure. You want the firewalls on your premises to talk to firewall appliances on Azure. You want the virtual route, you want to configure routing and everything. So that is where this one comes in. So what it does is that it provides advanced traffic filtering, intrusion prevention, application layer inspection, and packet forwarding policies. So this is where all those things come into play. So we also have enable custom routing and segmentation within VNet for complex deployment scenario. Now, it support deep integration with Azure Security and monitoring tools for centralized threat detection. Yeah, you're able to have everything in one place across your on-premises network devices and Azure in one central place because you are using network virtual appliances in Azure. So we also have okay. So I believe that is the end of my slide. We'll move down to some demo sections and then we walk through a lot of things that you need to know and maybe practice along. So let me bring up my my this thing, my browser to so let me see. Okay, so I have my I want to show us this. Okay, so this is my own Azure portal. Let me try to bring myself to this way and make it bigger for you to see. Okay, so right now we have there's what's it called lab files that we will be using. These have been prepared by Microsoft, so I'm going to just drop the link for you in the chat so you can follow along. So in that lab file, you are expected to download some of those preloaded templates by Microsoft. So when you do that, you just upload them to your Azure portal using the Cloud Shell interface. So here we are going to see how we can create. Let me bring up the diagram. Okay, this is the learning part for this training. So you can go and also get yourself and learn more about it and practice along even after the section and all that. So let me put this link here. So going to the Azure. So what you need to do is for each of these files to download it. For new users, if you click on the first file you need to upload to be able to create the resource group is the Azure deployed JSON file and the parameter file. So once you click it open, you can come here and download it. So it will download. So once you do that, you go back and download Azure deploy.parameter.file. Then you go back to your Azure Azure portal. Then you open your your Cloud Shell. Then walk through those things. So in this place now, I've already uploaded my own files, the required file, which is already uploaded some of those files. So if I do ls, so I have my Azure deploy. So how do you upload the file? If you come to manage file, you just click and upload. So you are going to see some of those files that you downloaded and all that. So that is how that one works. Once you click that, it will upload. So now for us to deploy this, first and foremost, we have let me bring up the architecture diagram for that we want. The first thing we need to set up first. Let me take a look for the architecture diagram and then explain it to us once more. Okay. So the architecture diagram, a minute, let me pull it up. So I'm sharing my slide again. Now in the architecture diagram, we have this is what we are going to create, likely to create. Now in this place, we have a resource group that is known as consortial resource group, and we have two set of things here. So what we are going to create, because of the heavy lifting and requirement that are involved in setting up the core site-to-site and site-to-site, let me say site-to-site. So we will not be doing in real-time practical because we need to set up those on-premises devices, but I'm going to walk us through how to create it. But we are not going to sort of create the fully full integration with the local network gateway on premises. So here we have two VNets, and we also have two subnets. Each of them are dedicated subnet to each of the VNets. Now, there's one of the VNet known as the core services, that contains also core services. And we also have manufacturing VNet. So you can see users, a user by the side who is connecting to the VNet, to the VM using a remote section. That is RDP, remote desktop protocol section. And that's how that is established. So how is it now? How is this manufacturing VM talking to the VM in the core services VNet? That's where the Azure VPN Gateway comes in. You can see that we have deployed two VPN gateway, and they are talking to each other in this way. So this one now is the last method I explained, VNet to VNet communication. So VNet to VNet communication can be achieved using this method, or you can also use the VPN, the VNet pairing if you need something very secure, as in if you want to really go out of the gateway. So understand this based on your business requirement. For those of you preparing for AZ700 as the Azure Virtual Networking Associate exam, so in some scenarios, some question might look like the ability to know what exactly to use is also important for you. So when you see a question that majorly focusing on remote access to users, even if the connection stays in Azure alone, which is the VNet to VNet connection, it means that the VPN gateway comes into play. So now you can see that one of the resources, which is the core services, lives in East US, while the West US is the one housing the manufacturing VM. So let's go down to the creation of this resource. So now, okay, coming. So on my own portal right now, I have my this thing up already. So, but then you need to understand that you need to set your subscription. You need to ensure that subscription is set and you're in the right subscription. If you have multiple subscription, so in this case, you need to set it by using the exit command. Or yes, exit account. You need to first of all know which of the subscription is there, which one do you want to use. So you can put it in the table format to know which subscription is there. So in this case, I have a subscription known as Azure Cloud. Yes, Azure Cloud subscription, and the name is Imo-Etuk subscription, and it's right enabled. So what I need to do is already set to it, but in case you have multiple subscriptions that will show up on this list, you need to set it by using the AZ account set subscription. My subscription name is Imo-Etuk subscription. So although it's already set, but if you have multiple one in this, the command for you to set it. So clearing my screen. Now we also have, I'm not sure if the screen is very big for you to see. You make it a bit big. So what we are going to create is, we first of all need to create the resource group. Already we have our files, the lab files uploaded. If you run the ls command, you see them You see the files that are there. Now we need to create the distinct. Let us use a variable by defining the resource group name, origin name. Origin name in this case, we need to speak to use a lot of terms like a fictitious name, contoso. In this case, we need to store the resource group name. So here we have stored it. So we just run the PowerShell command to create that. I'm already, sorry, let me deploy it. So now we have a new AZ group. So now I have my location. I have the only stuff I did was I only stored that resource group name in the variable. So I didn't store the location in the variable. So I'm just going to add that. I'm going to use the east west. So in this one, I'm going to bring the variable name I stored before. So there, you should create a resource group name as known as consortium resource group. So once that is created, we have our resource group right now. So the next step is for us to deploy the template. The first template we are deploying is the Azure deploy.json and the parameter file. So that's what we need to deploy right now. So right away we deploy that, and what this template does, if you go to, if you can cut that, where is the file? This is Azure SZ. Let me use Nano to open the Azure SZ deploy file. Deploy.json. So we have all the files for all the template file that will deploy the VNet, the manufacturing VNet, and the research VNet for us. So if you come to this one, you scroll through, you see the resource is the Microsoft.VNet, and the parameter here is defined, and then everything is set. Shared services subnet, database subnet, and all of them are going to be created. So that is just how it works. So I'm returning back to the screen. We are going to deploy the template by running the code. Let me using the new SZ resource group deployment. Then resource group name. Resource group name, we already passed that in a variable name. So the template file we are deploying is a template file. We are deploying Azure deploy.json. Azure deploy.json. So now we deploy that. So another one we are adding is the parameter file. That is template parameter file. We need to just type -template parameter file dot, then we now pass the name of that Azure deploy.template dot parameters dot JSON. So this way we will be able to deploy the content of the Azure deploy.json and Azure deploy.parameter.json file. Okay, let me check some resource group. Is it okay? There's a mistake with the new typo with this one. So I'm going to correct this. So we will deploy all the VNets right now. So what we've created before, we've created the resource group. Let's check that resource group. So bringing this down a bit. So we've created this. So we need to monitor this resource group this because this is where all the resources are going to be deployed. So some of the resources I've started deploying. We have the core services VNet, and we have the manufacturing VNet and the research VNet. So here now we have 3 VNets right inside the resource group. So what do they need to do now? We need to set up the core services for Contoso organization. So while doing that, we have already downloaded the PowerShell for core services. These are the template file for core services. These are the template file for core services, and I've already uploaded that into my Cloud Shell drive. And these are the core services here, and the parameter file as well. So we just the way we run the other file, we just need to run again by replacing the names of those parameters and all that. So coming back to this place, I'm going to just record that file. I'll just change the parameter file because all other things remain the same. So now, here we have a template file called core services that Azure. So I'll come to this place. I'll just do core services. Core services Azure deploy, Azure VM deploy. So in this case, add the VM because we are deploying the VM here. So Azure core services VM Azure deploy.json. Then we also go to this one, this particular one here. You can copy the name and paste there. So here we're going to put the template parameter file, replace the previous one. So here I'm going to paste it. So once that is pasted, we have everything set up already. So just to press enter to be able to deploy. You say supply values for password. So for the password right now, we need to let me see if there's a. So I'm going to enter any password that works. I will just use a password I can remember. But for the real work environment, you don't need to use a simple password. In fact, it needs to be very strong. So here I'm going to use a pass. Let me see. Let me write it down so I won't forget to be able to just. So I'm using pass. What? 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I'll copy and paste. So I've entered my password right now. So the deployment should start on the background. Now, after core services VM has been created, we need to create the other VM, manufacturing VM. which will enable us to set up the connectivity when we deploy our VPN gateway. So the core services VM has been created. If we come to our resource group, you should be able to see it. If you refresh, so we have the core services VM there. So now I'm clearing my screen and expanding this guy. Right now we have the other files already uploaded. We have the manufacturing VM deploy file. So I'm going to recall my command without having to write everything. If you take this option, copy to this file. Oh, let me first paste this one. So I will not. I'm just going to change the name from here. Change from the core services to manufacturing VM deploy. So now I'm going to go also to the core services and change it to manufacturing. So that's just what we need to change. Change it to manufacturing. So we are good as it stands now. So right, what we need to do just to press the enter and it to run to deploy those. So we are going to also be prompted for password. So I'm going to use the same password, but for best practice, do not use same password for your usual production environment, and do not use a simple password that can easily be guessed. So yeah, I'm pasting my password, and the deployment should start on the background. So what we need to do is to connect to the VM. So what we are connecting is we are connecting to the manufacturing VM. Once it finished deploying, we will establish that connectivity. Connecting to the VM is involves you establishing or downloading the RDP file and all that. So here we have successfully created that VM. So I'm going to exit that interface. Okay, you can also stay there. So now I have my VM. I can refresh this and get the manufacturing VM. So our public IP address is attached already. So just go back here and connect. Or if you don't need to download this, but you can check your port if it's accessible. Sometimes the NSG rule might block the inbound connectivity, so you won't be able to connect. But this one, I believe by default is open. So also you need to take note of the username. The username is test user in this VM now. So already I created my password myself. So I'm going to take this guy, the username test user for my this thing. So all what you just need to connect is this picking your public IP address. And then if you are using Windows, you launch your RDP client within your Windows. So if you want to just use the RDP file, you can download it here. So I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to pick the public IP address and then open the RDP connectivity from my system. Let me check for that. Okay, yeah. On Mac OS, it is known as Windows app. So within Windows app, we have you can add the VM and all that. So, but then let me see if I add my own VM here. So come take let's use the simplest way to connect so everyone can follow. So yeah, I'm going to download that. I have other resources within my Windows app. So I'm going to download this guy. So once you download it, you open it and then paste your password. You see an interface that come up when the prompt showed up. Where my password? Okay. So connectivity. So it's now connected. Let me bring it up to that screen. Minimize this guy. Then we have the manufacturing VNet on the screen. So having that already, so what we just need to do is to, within this core VNet, how do we now connect from here to the core VNet? We can use the private IP address. That will enable them to connect, although they are in different network. For now, if you want to connect, it might not go because manufacturing VM is in the manufacturing VNet, while the other one is in the core services VNet. So the connectivity would not work. So now we need to connect to both VM by going back to our portal, and now we connect that. See. So here we need to have the VNet, the other one. So closing this window, go to core services, connectivity, download that file, open it. Once you double click and open, paste the password that copy, then allow connection. So we have two VM connectivity right now. So let's test connectivity now for the VM. So on the manufacturing VM, we are going to go to use the PowerShell to test that, to test the connectivity between the two. Now, now when you test it, we need to ensure that prior to this, we do not have any connectivity, as in the relationship between this. So what we're going to do is that go to the core services VM and pick your private IP address, which is this one. This is this guy here. So that's 10.20. So go back to the core service, to the manufacturing VM, and then test the connection by running test dash net connection. Paste that IP address, and then the port is port 3389. So you see that the connection will fail. I'm not sure if connection should succeed. Okay, so let me see. Let me let me check something. Now you're saying attempting to connect, waiting for response. So now if you go back to, let's go back to okay, I'm running this one on the manufacturing. Okay, let me go back to the core services VNet, VM. Here on the core services VM, I'm just going to run this. Oh, sorry. Think, okay, that was in core services. So I'm going to run PowerShell. So PowerShell connectivity here. The IP address for for the this thing. Okay, let me see. I have this. So usually the result of the network connectivity that I established from the manufacturing this thing should fail. So because it was waiting for the response in the other one, but not responding the from the core services VNet or VM, so it fails because they're not in one network and they're not talking to one another. So what we need to do now is to set up the core services virtual network gateway, VM VPN gateway. So to do that, we need to just go to the portal and then search for virtual network gateway. So yeah, we have the virtual network gateway. Right now, we do not have anyone on the screen. So yeah, we have to select create and then go through the name. The here should be core services, Contoso core services gateway. We can use core services VNet gateway. So the region, I'm going to use the East US. So East US. Now, yeah, this is what I was talking about. The VPN, the gateway type, you can choose to go for express route, then select your SKU, or you now we are staying in the VPN type because we are going to cover express route in the next section, I believe. So the SKU, different SKU with different performance level. I think Microsoft recently made some changes to some of these SKU. So you need to take note of the one that works for you most. So I'm going to go with the VPN gateway one, that the first generation, and then now the virtual network is not there. So let me see. Generation one is what I selected. So VNet. There's supposed to be a VNet deploy for this. I'm coming. Let me check something first. Let me go check the list of VNet we have. The resource group. I have core services VNet. So which of these? So is in the East US region. Okay. So you're supposed to go with that. So now let's go back and create again. Core services VNet gateway. East US. So deploy this. Let me attempt to create because I should have one. Let me see. Only VNet in current subscription are selected. Which subscription is this? Oh, I'm coming. It deployed. So let me check, confirm if they were in a different subscription. So if I select this, let me see. Oh, it's in a different subscription. So I'm going, yeah, it's in my Visual Studio subscription. So, going to this core services. So now the VNet, the subnet is automatically created as gateway subnet. So you won't be the one to create that. And it picks the IP address of the one that is assigned to the VNet. So now here, the IP address, you need to create a new public IP address and give it a name. Core services, in this case, core services VPN, VNet gateway dash IP address. So leave it as standard. The SKU is standard. So if you wish to configure the border gateway protocol, you can. But then also the active mode, which I spoke about, to enable high availability, you can disable it or you enable it. So, but depending on your requirement, but best practice is that you should be able to enable that. But then, yeah, for the purpose of this lab, I should be able to. I will disable that. Then configure BGP. I will disable it. I don't need it for now. But in your use case or in your real life, you might need it. So now we are just going to proceed and review and create. We repeat this same step for the manufacturing VNet. So here now, before we do that, we need to set subnet for the manufacturing VNet. Let me go quickly to this interface and then check for manufacturing VNet. Okay. So here we have the manufacturing VNet here. Then we need to select subnet. We see that we have our subnet. We have 2, 3. So we need to add a subnet. We need to add one subnet, and that subnet should be here. We allowed virtual network gateway. So the name already has picked it to be so. So the IP address range. Let me see if I have the available the address range, because address range is important that you said it well. So going to size is 27. Let me see. So let me go extend the size to 27 slash 27. So IP address range. Okay. So now we have that. What we just need to do is to add this. Now create a virtual network gateway. Then going back to where we are, we come to under settings again. So we have our subnet here. If we refresh, we have this one. So we come to gateway. Let's go back to gateway interface. Create a new one. The other one is still deploying, so it takes some time to really spin up. So let me go to no. I wanted to create yeah. So hybrid connectivity. Under hybrid connectivity, we have the to set the name to be manufacturing VNet gateway. So what again? We put this one in a different region, West Europe. So here we also stick to the VPN type. Generation 1 is what I want to use to. I'm going to let me select my subscription. So yeah, I'll create a new one. So I'm going to disable this. So creating a new one is manufacturing IP. So disable this, guys. After that, if you want to manage authentication, you can use the service connector like Key Vault to manage connectivity. If there's anything that involve your keys, storing of keys, and calling it on your this thing. But here we are not going to use that. So check why the error here. Okay, let me see. Oh, sorry, I didn't specify the manufacturing VNet here. So right, everything is okay. I'm going to go ahead and review and create. So it takes about, I think it takes about 45 minutes to actually deploy this gateway. This is what the time right now. So let's see. So yeah, we have deployed those VNet. So what again do we need? We need to just set up the connectivity between the two VNet. We need to call services VNet to manufacturing VNet. Let me go check. Okay, this is still running. So we have to bear with me because it takes a while to finish. So, but then if you have questions, let me know if you have questions and we'll be able to take questions right now. If you have questions around how this connectivity works, any question regarding to on premises, I've already put a link to devices to the list of devices that are supported for your VPN devices. Let me check that link again and maybe walk us through some of those links. Let me see if I can find that. Okay. So this particular website now, Microsoft has listed the list of supported VPN devices. So the list gets updated from time to time, so you need to pay attention to it. So about the VPN devices, when you're setting up your local network gateway to be able to connect your on premises, so you need to pay attention to this. If you scroll down, you see a list of supported ones. Let me expand this. So we have so coming back to, we have a list of a lot of them. All the vendors are here. So right now you can use even Juniper is supported, Microsoft itself, Open Systems, Palo Alto Networks, Sophos is there. So Synology is also there, Ubiquiti is also there, Ultra, WatchGuard. So these are where you can check which of them. Each of them has configuration documentation guide, which you can explore. If you want to go for Cisco ASA, so you can actually check the documentation on from the vendor website. So yeah, it will walk you through all how to configure from point one to another. So even up to the point of creating your pre-shared key and sharing it with your users. So these are what you get. So all the steps are here. So this website is all in one. Also, don't forget to stay ahead of time by reading this particular learn modules to be able to expand and also bookmark these lab files pages and do it at your own time. So let's go back and check if this is done. It's still okay. I think it's still deploying. Oh, the deployment is still running. So meanwhile, let's just now, as I was saying before, to create site to site, it's very easy. Let me walk us through site-to-site creation. Site-to-site VPN creation is what I want to walk us through here, but we might not be able to really cover in depth because of the limitations we have in terms of getting the resource on premises. So now site-to-site, you can do it in two ways. You can use your portal, Azure portal, just as we are creating this VPN connectivity, VPN gateway. So what you need to do, prerequisite is that you must have a basic knowledge around on-premises, how your architecture work on premises, and in terms of network, the public IP address on premises, and your fully qualified domain in case you want to use that. So first of all, you need to create a VNet. So VNet is created on Azure. So you just come here and create one. Pending when that works, the other one is done. So let's explore another way. So this one is still going. So you can create one more. Yeah, I'm just going to walk around something. Let me change this to subscription and then pick the same. Use just a test VNet is fine for us to be able to set up that site. So I'm going to put it in the East US. Let me check East US. So yeah, I defined this. So go back to next, go next. Security, skip security first, but security is important. Don't skip it in your production. So you need to go through it one after the other and then be able to go. So this address namespace, you can delete it and then you now add your own and then manipulate it the way you want to manipulate it. So here you can change this default to maybe 10.1.0.0 maybe /16, leave it as /16. After that, you now do, we have that subnet address. So you add the subnet address space. Here, we need to name it, leave it at default, and then the name should be, you can put something like front end. We are connecting to, depending on what you want to do. So yeah, the size of this one, you can leave it at /24. That is the subnet size. So you just create that. So after that, you now do, your VNet, did I specify VNet name here? See, okay, I did, test VNet. So I can just review and create the VNet. So the next thing is for us to create a gateway subnet. So of course, you still need the VNet. You still need to deploy a VPN gateway for this, and that will still take time. So, but I'm going to just walk us through the step to avoid that delay. This one is still deploying. So the VNet has successfully created. You can still deploying. So it's done. So now go back to open your VNet and go to subnet, add a subnet, and the purpose should be for virtual network gateway. Select that, then the name will automatically boil down to that. So you give it the 27 address spaces. So now after that, this step is how to set up your site-to-site connectivity. Remember what we did in the lab is VNet to VNet connectivity, which we created two VM into separate network, then create VPN gateway, and then we need to pair them together. So now coming to this one, we have the gateway subnet. So the next thing that I walk us through in the previous step is to create a VPN gateway. So we are not going to repeat that here. So all what you just need to do is in the next step, or if you want to really do the let's okay, let me walk us through, but I'm not going to actually initiate it. But if you want to get more high availability, you can select generation 2 when creating your gateway. You need to really achieve need to do that. So VPN gateway, create a new one. So you come here. For in this place now, you will be able to, let me see, test VNet gateway. So easy wise, leave it here. Then it's generation 2, what I'm selecting now. I can have my test subnet. Then you see the subnet has been selected already. So if I want to create a new one, test VNet gateway IP. The active and active mode is for it to achieve your is for it to achieve high availability. If you observe, when you enable this, you have a second public IP address to specify, and this is recommended if it's in production, because this will allow you to select the availability zones and all that. So, did you see zone redundant, availability zone? Anyone yet enable standard? Okay. So then you specify the secondary public IP address. I can put this one as 2.02. So the SKU is standard and disable BGP. Okay, this is configured. So now I have 2 public IP addresses. So if I need more, I can go to generation 3. If I need more reliability and high availability. So now after setting that up, all what you need to do is to create what is called local network gateway, which is this one. You need to create a connection in that one first and foremost. So you need to create a connection first when you finish. So here, I select a resource group, then the region, and then I can specify the name as test VNet local gateway. So right now I can specify this comes from my IP address on premises, from the public IP address I have on premises. Usually, maybe depending on the this thing that you use, could be 192.168 dot anyone that you use there. So you bring in that IP address here, add address name and IP address spaces. You can add as many as depending on what you have within your premises. So after that, you now create it. Now, all you just need to do is to create a connection within the VPN gateway and supply all the necessary connectivity and complete everything from the vendor website and be able to, depending on your VPN device brand, you just be able to establish that. So this is still deploying. So because of our time, what's it? Kate, do I still have time here? So I'm going to walk us through the next step. Maybe you follow through in your spare time. So right now, since we've initiated the deployment of the VPN gateway for both core services VNet and manufacturing VNet, we just need to create connection by connecting core services VNet to manufacturing VNet. How to do that? So if you go to the core services VNet gateway that we have, okay, I still have time till 8 p.m. Okay. Is it till 8 p.m.? No, okay, it should be till 7 p.m., I think. So yeah, we have we just need to come to. Okay, I think manufacturing VNet has come. Let me see. Okay, that's actually completed. Okay, now let's go back to take the core services VNet gateway, which is this guy. Okay, so here, if you look at this one, we have point to site, we have connections. So point to site, one of the advantages of point to site, which I forgot to mention, is that you do not need device. You do not need what's it called, VPN device from another vendor. So you can easily just create it here. Now creating connection here, I will um, I will add connection. If you look at the connection type, I have side to side and I also have VNet to VNet. So I'm going to leave it as is. If I want to establish bidirectional connectivity, meaning back and forth, going in and coming in, I can just enable this. And from there, we'll be able to connect, define first connection name and second connection name. So here, I'm going to specify the name as core services gateway to manufacturing gateway. We use the easy ways that I've already been using. Now we have this. So going to setting, we need to define the pre-shared key. So one of the best practices when I was explaining, one of the best practices is that you need to have a very strong pre-shared key. And your pre-shared keys can be stored in the key vault. You don't need to expose it as we're going to do now on the call. It's just this is demo section. So please in your this thing do not do that. So now I have but oh, okay, it's not completed fully. I'm not sure it's completing fully. So that is why this is not, the gateway is not fully active here. So I still need to give it a bit of time to complete everything. So that is why the first virtual network gateway, which is supposed to be core services network gateway, and the second one is not active yet. So it's still finalizing the deployment. So let's give it a bit of time. But if you have questions, I'm happy to take them. So let me explain before we start. Now I'm creating connection. That connection is from core services VNet gateway to manufacturing VNet gateway. Now I'm going to also create similar connection using the manufacturing VNet gateway, and that one it will be from manufacturing VNet gateway to core services VNet gateway. By so doing, be able to create both of them, will be able to talk to each other. So resources residing in any of them will talk to each other. So after that, we will almost be done because we don't have major thing. After that, we go back and test the connection, test it from the manufacturing VNet VM to the. Just come back here and run it again. So if you were to connect to your site to site, this is how to put it. So here, you just need to usually select your local network gateway, which will be this one. You must have created it. In this case, we didn't create. So pick your gateway, then pre-shared key. There are some third-party tool that they use to generate pre-shared key. And once you do that in production, you need to store your key in Azure Key Vault. Do not expose it in plain text. So this is how to set up your your site to site. Then if you are to set up the other one, let me go back. If you are to set up express route, which will be covered in some other sections, that one involve other extended stuff that you need. You need to have a connection. You need to create connection one, connection two. You need to choose your routing weights and all that. So to be covered in other section. So now coming back to, let me refresh the entire portal to be able to get to see if this stuff has complete. It's still not complete yet. Okay. So if you have questions, I'm happy to take them. So let me use this opportunity to invite us to our upcoming season of MCP. I think it's scheduled for 29th of November. So we're going to be taking you through how to work with the MCP servers, powering your AI and all that. So I will need to share the link with you. I'm not sure if Kate has the link handy. So let me look at the registration link. And also next week, Kate, when next do we have section, please? So now, when do we have section in the networking series? So for the MCP server section, you can register for it through the link I want to put right now in the chat. So the link to register for the MCP server, season of MCP server is on the screen. So you can easily just use that to register. Kate, we cannot hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. So when do we
Yeah,
have
there'll be
the
a
next
session
session?
tomorrow. There'll be a
Okay.
session tomorrow. That's on express route.
Okay. Do you have the link handy? You can share.
Sure, I will. Yeah.
Okay. So just a little moment, this deployment will be done, and you'll be. So mind you, all the express route, all the hybrid connectivity to within Microsoft Azure can be managed within a single pane called hybrid connectivity. So if you search for this on Azure portal, you can also find it. If you these are collapsible tabs. We want to go to virtual WANs, which involved collection of all this into a centralized management interface for ease of connectivity to your from Azure to your on-premises. So you can create all the resources here. Like I explained in the core, the order of placement doesn't matter. If you look at it, the VPN gateway is more easy to set up and suitable for small, medium-sized business, while the express route is for larger organizations that are more interested in having dedicated connectivity directly from their on-premises to Microsoft. Then, but for larger organizations that expect to connect branches, that is sites, multiple sites together, be able to make all of them to talk to one another, and people can work from one data center to another. Then that is where virtual WAN comes to play. If you are preparing for your networking exam, the AZ700, so you need to take note of this. So another, let me see. Oh, it's okay now. So we have it succeeded right now. So let's go back to the creation of connectivity that we needed to create. This is core services VNet gateway. Yeah, right here we go to add connection, resource group selected, site to site, VNet to VNet. Then the name will be core services gateway to manufacturing gateway. Easy way. So here we have the core services and we are going to manufacturing is still not done. Okay. Let's give it a little time. So in a few minutes, let me refresh. So now, if you have any question, let me know. So go through I share some links to the list of VPN devices that are supported, and there are lots of documentation that I can also share with you to read along. So let me share. Look for one, the hybrid connectivity documentation for Microsoft. Let me check for the link. Okay, so here you can learn more about hybrid connectivity. Pasting the link now, learn more. So I'll just put the link in the chat. So that place you explore a lot of terminologies on some of the things we covered in an extensive way. So we also have a network security overview that you need to also get yourself familiar with. I'm also sharing the link. Network security, where we talk about the likes of firewalls and all that. We've done sections on this as well. If you check through our YouTube channel, you're going to see it. So if you have any question, let me know. But the step to connecting to your VMs, make them talk to one another is very easy from here. Create connection on both VPN gateway. After that, you just need to go try out the connection again and it will work. Okay, so I'll refresh my page again. It's okay. So going back here, I will need to I will have to refresh this. I'll go back and then let me just refresh the entire page. So right away we created let me go back to show you how we created connection. From the core services VNet gateway, scroll to the settings side, then click on connection and then add connection. select your resource group, subscription and resource group, then specify the name. Depending on the name of the naming convention is very important. So you're able to follow along, able to know which one is connected to which one. So it's better to keep to the naming convention by specifying, like right now, I have core services as a VNet gateway. So I'm going to also maintain that. The manufacturing gateway. So West Europe is which region? Oh no, East US is where I have to choose this. East US. Okay. This is from here to here. Okay, I'm coming. All right. So that one now is the West US. The region is supposed to. This is the. Okay, East US is where it's supposed to be. So now the preset key, you can define it manually. Yeah, just going to use a very simple one. You can just use so I'll remember ABC 1, 2, 3. So ABC 1, 2, 3. Now this did I enable BGP? Both gateway this and this both have same. Oh, wow. I'm not quite sure I enabled that. Okay, let me go back to. Let me go back to the gateway. I actually enable this one. So right here, I need to check configuration. Disabled. So autonomous number. Let me see if I can change this to 4. I'm wondering because I didn't enable this, so it shouldn't be something that's. So let me also, while this is done, let me check if most time. Okay, take note of the autonomous number. This is going to take a lot of time again. Okay. If I create connection here, so to create connection, just come to this, put manufacturing to core services gateway. It was in West US that I placed this manufacturing VNet. So leave it as is and come to this. The core services has, let me see if it's a can. I just did some update right now. Monitor it. Okay. So it is up now. Copy this name and refresh this page. Oh, let me go back to call services gateway connection. Add one. Add the name here. Changing this to this is US. So protocol, leave it at IK version 2 is the latest one. So leave all this as is. Do not enable it. So the NAT gateway is not compulsory. You configure it. So it all depends on what you want to do. So yeah, the tag is not important for now. So just go to review and create. So the connection in that one has been created. This particular one, I'm just going to just refresh this page to pick up the changes. And put the name here. West US is where this one should stay. West Europe, sir. Setting. Need to go from here to core services. Put your pre-shared key. So this connection is in progress. So right now we will soon be done, just remaining for the connection to establish, and then but you can also monitor the connection. I think Microsoft Azure has a quite dedicated page for monitoring your connection. So if you come here, you see the two of them. So they are being updated. So it's still in the same interface, but you can actually pick it as a standalone service or resource. So yeah, they are updating. After that, on your own, you come back to your VM, come back to the, prior to this, we were testing connectivity on the manufacturing VM. So we just need to, let me see. So on the manufacturing VM, so just come back to your PowerShell and then we run this command. Test it both sides and see the connection should succeed. So that is how you can test that. In this one, remember the state was false. TCP test succeeded, false. But after the connection from Azure is succeeded, this status should change to be true. And this also show you that it's connected. The ping connection should also succeed there. Refresh this. Okay. Status is unknown. So now if you come to, let me see, go back to this one and test. So now you see the connection is succeeded now. You should, let me expand this guy. Let's see how it be. So now it is succeeded. Let me use control this one. So it succeeded right now. Now the status is true and the IP address of the other one. So now let's go back to this one, to the core services VM, and pick the IP address of this guy, of the manufacturing VM. Then that is the private IP address. Let's go here, and if you check the connection, so manufacturing VM, the private IP address is right here. So you pick it. Core services. So we do the test again here. Test dash need connection. So paste the IP address of the of the manufacturing VM. Okay, yes, I'm right. So paste it here. I can type it. 10.30.10.4. Okay. 10.4. Then go through the port 3389. So right now the core services is also here, and this one is the manufacturing unit. So if you go back to the connection page, let's see. So it succeeded, true, and this one is also true. So if you go back to the connections page and refresh this status now, you should see that it is not reflecting on Azure. It's supposed to show connected. Let's see. Okay. Let's go back to this guy. Let's check manufacturing gateway. And these are the connections that we created. So let's check for, let's go back to the gateway itself. So this is the status now. You see the status here is showing connected. So if you go back now and ping the other IP address, or as we ping test now, you see that it will respond. So this is what we wanted to achieve. Apologies for the delay. To deploy VPN gateway takes over 45 minutes. That's why. Catherine, are you there? I'm done with the section. So thank you very much for having me. Thank you, audience, for your time and for joining. We see you again tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.